Hello and welcome. I'm Hazel Butterworth, catalyst for self-awareness and self-liberation.
And I'm Carmen Braga. I'm a self-awakening mentor for women. And we are the co-owners of Healing Heart Center in Sherwood Park, Alberta.
And you can find us at www.healingheartcenter.ca. Hello, I'm Hazel Butterworth.
And I'm Carmen Braga.
And today's topic is fear.
This is a big topic.
Scary, scary, scary.
It's such a big topic that we're actually going to be doing this as a 4-part series. So stay tuned because we're going to be talking on a lot of different types, a lot of different aspects of fear because there's a lot of it out there.
There is all right now. I mean, I don't think there's anybody right now in this moment in the current circumstances with COVID who is not experiencing fear in several areas of their life.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, prime example, we couldn't, for a talk on fear, really what's going on in the world right now, it's a perfect topic for what's happening because it's bringing up a lot of fears in a lot of people right now in many ways, shapes, and forms. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some of it we would say is justified, and some of it is some might think is excessive. And again, it's all perceptions.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, everything is a perception. So we're going to look at fear. What is fear, and how does that show up for you? And then we'll explore that further and in the different types of fear. And then our last segment will be on how to release that fear, right?
Yes.
Or ways we could do. And we'll cover that along the way as well. I'm sure, you know, as conversation goes, because as you know, we always have a lot to bring to the table, and so can't fit it all in our short segments. So
we never know what's going to come out of our mouths at any given time. So
sometimes nothing, because I get tongue-tied, right? Yeah. The fear of speaking on camera, there's a fear, right?
Exactly.
The fear of saying something and somebody go, I don't like what you said.
Yeah. Well, that's a big one. And as we know, right, it took us a long time to be able to do this. And yeah, so, but you know what? We're facing our fear.
We are facing fear. And sometimes fear is a motivation, right? So even though the fear is there, it's still going ahead and doing what you want to do and choose to do, right? So sometimes we can harness that fear. Sometimes we can maybe ignore the fear, not always a good thing, but we can certainly contain it. But we can also find ways to move through it and ways to let go. But fear can be a good thing.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, it can.
When fear shows up, first of all, question for you, when fear shows up for you, what is actually happening in that moment that you're experiencing fear? And how does that feel in the body? Right? Well, how do you know that this is fear that you're experiencing? So that's a question to consider, because we have to be able to identify that, right?
Yeah.
And then fear, as we know, is ego, right?
Yeah.
Fear has a good role to play.
Well, it alerts us to danger, right? That's part of what the ego does, is alert you to danger because it wants to keep you safe, right? That's its job, so to speak.
Yes.
But oftentimes we associate fear with danger, and we actually think of the two as the same thing, and they're not at all, actually. I mean, most fear is psychological to begin with, and danger is something that's imminent and real and occurring right in the moment. So, I mean, if a bus is coming at you, that's danger. You're going to jump out of the way, right? There's a big difference between the two.
And part of that is that fright and flight, right? That adrenaline that kicks in when danger shows up, and then that is your natural instinct for survival. And that is ego at its best, keeping you safe, right? Those instincts, oh, there's danger here. But not everything is severely dangerous. There's different levels of danger, right? There's caution, right? But again, fear comes up and it helps you to be more cautious. So it's, you know, when people talk about dismissing ego and, oh, put ego aside, you know, and get rid of ego, no. ego has its role to play.
Yeah. Well, and it's not about getting rid of it. It's about coming into balance and harmony with it.
Yeah.
That's the
Understanding and,
Yes.
and realizing and asking that question, am I really in danger? Or is it a perceived danger?
Yes.
Right. So
Yeah. Well, and I'll share a story with you. Just the other night, actually, we came across a program on TV of Will Smith, and he was facing his fear of going into water, and specifically into the ocean, and sharks. He couldn't have picked a bigger thing to jump into, that's for sure. But he said it was really interesting because his whole life he was terrified of water, absolutely terrified. Couldn't go into a pool or anything like that. And he said it wasn't until he was 40 years old that he said to his mom, he said, boy, it was sure a good thing that you pulled me out of that, I think it was a lake that he said, when I was 5 years old. And she looked at him, she said, that never happened. In his mind, he almost drowned when he was a young kid. So he had the memory of that, but it wasn't actually in this particular lifetime. But that was the psychological fear that played a huge role his entire life and kept him away from water. And he was terrified of the water. So he wanted to face that fear, and he decided to go swimming with the sharks. Wouldn't have been my first choice, but
me neither.
but he did it. I mean,
No sharks bite.
Where he was, oh my God, it was crazy. What he did. Well, he did it a few different times in different places.
But who would have the wherefore to say what type of shark are you? It's like here in Canada where they say, the black bears and the brown bears, they run downhill for one and go up a tree for another. But I don't know the difference. I can never remember. Do I go up a tree or play dead and run downhill, or what do I do? It's a bear. It's Scary Mary.
I don't think I'd have to play dead. I think I would just pass out. I really do.
Weak at the knees.
Yeah, exactly.
Hello, we're Hazel and Carmen with Healing Heart Center Sherwood Park, and this is the Inspiration Station for Self-Awareness.
And you're watching TVU. To watch our show, click on the Health and Wellness channel. Okay, so I wanted to read a quote to you guys. This is from Anita Moorjani. She's the author of the book Dying to Be Me and What If This Is Heaven? And awesome books. I mean, Dying to Be Me, I gifted that book to so many people when it first came out. It's an amazing, amazing book. She had been ravaged by cancer, and she actually was on her deathbed. She went into a coma. She went to the other side. And it's her near-death experience account of what happened with her. So let's see. So she said that the most frequent question that people ask her is why she thinks she got cancer. And she said, I can sum it up in one word: fear. She said, what was I afraid of? Just about everything, including failing, being disliked, letting people down, and not being good enough. I also feared illness, cancer in particular, as well as the treatment for cancer. I was afraid of living, and I was terrified of dying. That says a lot, actually, because when you look at practically everybody out there, I know I've felt all of these things. I think just about everybody has, especially failing, being disliked, letting people down, not being good enough. Those are huge fears, and that fear of judgment, of course, comes into that as well.
That's
right.
Fear is the underlying drive of most every day and everything we do, right? I mean, this John Lennon always talks past tense, did talk about the two emotions that drive us, and it's love and fear. And fear is, contracting and shrinking away from, and love is opening up and embracing. And so whenever fear, if we are experiencing fear all throughout the day, for whether any one of those reasons that Anita listed, then if you're operating and functioning from fear most of the day, then you're spending most of your life in fear. And that is very contracting, and it is not opening up and living life.
No.
Right? It's
very,
limiting, it's
very
debilitating,
Yeah.
right? It's restricting. But in an environment like today where there's so much fear, feeding fear, then it's sometimes not always as easy to step out of that fear, because it has that drive, and it's almost like it's contagious, right? And it just escalates, and what was a little fear becomes a big fear.
Yes.
And really nothing changed other than your perception, or that maybe you've heard that thing 10 times today, so now it's added to it and it becomes more scary. And it becomes the numbers, like, well, instead of 2 people, now there's 100 people, well, now there's 1,000 people, and that just escalates, and so the fear escalates with it. Your circumstance hasn't changed, but your fear has grown.
It's like a wildfire.
It is like a wildfire.
It really is. It's
and it spreads
spark.
that quick.
Yeah, and it just goes like crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it wipes out everything
Yeah.
on its way. So yeah, it is. It's one of the most debilitating things that we have, I think, within us and on this planet. I mean, it does drive a lot of people, and not in a good way. Not in a good way at all.
No. And yet, as we said earlier, there is a good side, because we live in this dualistic world, right? Everything about this 3D world has that duality: hot, cold, big, small, fear, love, right? And so in that dualistic, everything within that has its equal and opposites too. So in that fear, as much as it can be considered a bad thing, it's also a good thing. Just depends which way you're looking at it.
Well, you can learn a lot about yourself when you look at your fears. I mean, I know I have. Holy cow. And that's actually part of what I've been doing over these past years, is looking at my fears and seeing them for what they really are. And it's been very eye-opening. Am I free of fears? No, but I do fear less.
Yes.
That's the thing. I don't know if we ever really get over fear. Well, maybe some people.
But again, it's like you don't want to eliminate it.
Yeah.
Because if you have no fear of anything, then you never know if you're in danger, and you're just oblivious.
Yeah.
So it's not that we want to get rid of all fear. It's to understand fear and to lessen those that have been controlling and driving us. And that's, as you said earlier, bring everything into balance. Fear has its good attributes and can serve as well.
Yeah.
But it's when it consumes us and debilitates us that it's actually causing harm to ourselves.
Yeah. Well, and in some cases, people won't even leave their homes.
No.
You know, I mean, there's fears and phobias go hand in hand. You know, and there are some really, really serious phobias out there that do keep people inside, where they're afraid to go outside.
Yeah.
Right?
And we'll look at that again. You know, we're going to look at more variations on fear and specific types of fear in the next few segments. Okay.
Well,
did you have another quote, or you?
No, that was it for
Okay.
this one. We have a few things.
We have so much to say. It's like, you know, we want to kind of keep them a little bit more compartmentalized.
Well,
so,
yeah, kind of short and sweet, but this was more the introduction to fear, and then we're going to go deeper into it in the next videos. So that's something to join us for that. It's going to be exciting.
It won't be scary.
No, and then we learn how to let these things be what they are too. So
okay. Thank you for being with us today, and we'll see you on the next video.
Yeah, have a great day, everybody. Bye.
Hello, this is Hazel and Carmen from Healing Heart Center. This is the Inspiration Station for Self-Awareness.
And you're watching the Health and Wellness channel on TVU.